Men and women. We're told we're the same, we're told we're completely different. But what does the actual science say? Today, we're looking at 8 psychological differences between men and women that research has consistently documented. Not stereotypes, not opinions, actual peer-reviewed science. And here's what makes this interesting. Some of these differences are exactly what you'd expect. Others, they'll completely surprise you. Before we start, let me be clear. These are averages and tendencies. They don't define any individual person. There's more variation within each gender than between them. But the patterns are real, they're measurable, and understanding them can improve how we communicate, relate, and understand each other. Let's dive into the science. The first difference is about emotions, and it's not what most people think. Research shows that women, on average, are significantly better at recognizing and interpreting facial expressions and emotional cues. They can read micro-expressions faster and more accurately than men. This isn't about being more emotional, it's about emotional intelligence and perception. Brain imaging studies show that women have greater activity in areas associated with emotional processing, particularly the amygdala and prefrontal cortex, when viewing emotional faces. But here's the interesting part. Men and women experience emotions with equal intensity. The difference is in expression and recognition, not feeling. Men feel just as deeply, they're just less likely to show it or pick up on it in others. This difference has real-world implications for communication. Women often pick up on subtle emotional signals that men might completely miss. And when men don't respond to those signals, it's not always because they don't care, it might be because they genuinely didn't perceive them. The second difference is cognitive. Men, on average, tend to have an advantage in spatial reasoning tasks, things like mental rotation, navigation, and understanding three-dimensional objects. Women, on average, tend to have advantages in verbal abilities, vocabulary, verbal fluency, reading comprehension, and verbal memory. This shows up early. Studies of children show boys typically excel at building blocks and spatial puzzles, while girls often develop language skills earlier and maintain advantages in verbal tasks throughout life. Why does this matter? In everyday life, men are statistically more likely to navigate using cardinal directions and distances. Go north for 2 miles. Women are more likely to use landmarks and descriptions. Turn left at the coffee shop. Neither approach is better. They're just different cognitive strategies. And understanding this can reduce frustration when giving or receiving directions. The third difference is about stress, and this one's fascinating. When faced with stress, men tend to exhibit what's called fight or flight. The sympathetic nervous system kicks in, adrenaline spikes, and the response is either to confront the threat or escape it. Women, on average, show what researchers call tend and befriend. Under stress, women are more likely to seek social connection, nurture others, and build supportive networks. This is driven partly by oxytocin, which is released in higher amounts in women during stress. This isn't just behavioral, it's biological. Studies show that estrogen enhances the effects of oxytocin during stress, while testosterone in men can reduce it. In practical terms, when stressed, men often want to be alone to solve the problem. Women often want to talk about it with others. Neither is wrong, they're just different stress management strategies, and knowing this can prevent a lot of relationship conflicts. The fourth difference is about risk, and this data here is remarkably consistent. Men, on average, engage in more risk-taking behavior across virtually every category measured: physical risks, financial risks, recreational risks, social risks. This starts in childhood and continues throughout life. This isn't just about testosterone, though that plays a role. It's also about how men and women evaluate potential outcomes. Studies show men tend to focus more on potential gains, while women tend to weigh potential losses more heavily. This shows up everywhere. Men are more likely to invest aggressively, drive faster, try extreme sports, and take career gambles. Women, on average, are more risk-averse and deliberate in decision-making. Again, neither is inherently better. Sometimes risk-taking leads to innovation and success. Sometimes caution prevents disaster. The key is understanding that men and women often have different risk thresholds and respecting both approaches. The fifth difference is about how we communicate, and this is where a lot of misunderstanding happens. Research shows that women, on average, use more affiliative speech, language designed to build connection, show empathy, and maintain relationships. They ask more questions, give more affirmations, and use conversation to build rapport. Men, on average, use more instrumental speech, language designed to convey information, solve problems, and establish status. This creates classic miscommunication. A woman shares a problem, wanting empathy and connection. A man immediately offers solutions, thinking he's helpful. She feels unheard. He feels rejected. Neither style is wrong, but recognizing these different communication goals can transform relationships. Sometimes people want solutions, sometimes they want support, and knowing which one you're dealing with makes all the difference. The sixth difference is about multitasking, and this one might surprise you. Popular belief says women are better multitaskers. The research? It's more nuanced. Studies show that when it comes to task switching, rapidly shifting attention between different activities, women do tend to perform slightly better on average. Brain imaging reveals women have more connections between the left and right hemispheres, which may facilitate this. However, and this is important, true multitasking, doing two complex cognitive tasks simultaneously, is actually impossible for everyone. What we call multitasking is really rapid task switching, and while women may switch slightly faster, the performance cost exists for both genders. The practical takeaway: women may handle juggling multiple responsibilities slightly more efficiently, but everyone's performance suffers when attention is divided. The mental load women often carry isn't easier for them, they're just doing it more often. The seventh difference is about empathy, and this one is one of the most studied differences in psychology. Women on average score significantly higher on measures of emotional empathy, the ability to feel what another person is feeling and respond with care and concern. Brain studies show greater activation in women's mirror neuron systems when observing others in distress. But here's the interesting part. Cognitive empathy, the ability to understand what someone is thinking or feeling without necessarily sharing that emotion, shows much smaller or no gender differences. What does this mean? Women are more likely to emotionally resonate with others' feelings. Men are equally capable of understanding those feelings intellectually, they just don't feel them as intensely. This isn't about men being uncaring, it's about different types of empathy, and both have value. Emotional empathy provides comfort. Cognitive empathy can provide objective help and problem solving. The eighth and final difference is about aggression, and this is where the data is most stark. Men exhibit significantly more physical and overt aggression than women across all cultures and age groups. This is one of the most consistent findings in psychology. From playground fights to violent crime, men overwhelmingly dominate statistics for physical aggression. However, women engage in relational aggression, social exclusion, gossip, reputation damage at rates equal to or higher than men. This type of aggression is just as harmful, but less visible. The difference isn't in hostility or anger, it's in how aggression is expressed. Men's aggression tends to be direct and physical, women's tends to be indirect and social. Understanding this helps us recognize that aggression takes many forms, and both genders are capable of causing harm, just through different methods. So, there you have it. 8 psychological differences between men and women backed by decades of research. But here's what's most important to understand. These are population-level trends. They describe averages, not individuals. There are empathetic men who excel at reading emotions. There are risk-taking women with exceptional spatial skills. Individual variation is enormous. The point of understanding these differences isn't to put people in boxes. It's to have compassion for different ways of thinking, feeling, and being. It's to recognize that when men and women communicate differently, feel differently, or approach problems differently, it's not wrong. It's just different. The real power comes when we stop expecting everyone to be the same and start appreciating what different perspectives bring to the table. Science shows us the differences. Wisdom teaches us how to bridge them. Thanks for watching. Drop a comment. Which of these differences surprised you the most? And if you want more science-based psychology content that actually respects nuance and complexity, hit that subscribe button. See you in the next one.